as the technology moves forward and sort of scientific machinery, instrumentation are getting bigger and bigger, and they're capturing far more information, and a lot of it being unorganized sort of information, there's a need to now start managing that data on top of the traditional sort of data lakes and bulk storage systems. So traditionally, you used to do this by breaking it down into sort of groups and sort of scientists and people, putting them into directories and subdirectories. But the data is getting so vast now that that's not the only way to do it. So some of the things I think that are going to be particularly pushed over the coming certainly the coming 12 months are, how do you manage all this vast quantity of information, and what technologies are going to be around that? And this could be from physical media, such as NVMe over Fabric, sort of making your data storage faster, but particularly around the software, and how the software is going to be able to scan, identify, tag, and manage the entire life cycle of your data, because you've put a huge amount of investment into capturing this data, processing this data through all sorts of HPC and AI means, that you are wanting to classify it, move it correctly, put it on the most cost-efficient storage, and know exactly what it is and where it is at all times. So in the latest version of Atempo's Myria, there's some sort of very exciting tools that have come out, which are really enabling HPC and storage administrators to leverage not only the traditional file systems that Atempo have always sort of fully supported, such as the isolons, but also hook directly into the Lustre file system using the audit log. Now, traditionally, this used to be done via sort of the third-party Robinhood, but now Atempo are able to query the file system natively in multi-OSS sort of environments, and it allows you to keep track of where files were within Lustre, even if you migrate them off externally to another storage pool file system, into the cloud, into tape. And when you sort of restore them back, they'll go exactly where they were originally. This helps researchers immensely whilst moving data closer to the instrumentation, moving it closer to the computational resources as they actually require, because the file system and the storage that the data is generated onto is not necessarily the ideal file system to be processing this data on. So Atempo provides the perfect tool set in order to gather the information onto one file system, migrate it onto a completely different type of file system. This could be IBM Spectrum Scale, for example, which may be serving as a research data store, or it could be another Lustre file system. So in this way, it allows users, storage administrators to really manage their data and go between these file systems when required, and also bring it back to the original location as required. And Atempo really does connect with the file system in that instead of your traditional POSIX walk down the file system, which on a multi-petabyte file system, it just would not be quick enough to achieve this. It ties directly into the file system's scanning system or audit system, such as the informational lifecycle management system in Spectrum Scale, which is backed up with faster media to target these files in order to move them as fast as possible between the platforms. So Myriad also provides the ability to migrate between file systems above and beyond its data management sort of capabilities that it already has. And it has a lot of advantages over your traditional migration. Now, as a system administrator, when new file systems are coming into your storage environment, they're not necessarily always the same file system. They don't work in the same way, and you're doing a sort of an apples and oranges sort of replacement. So you've got the same amount of capacity, but you've got slightly different features, and these features change with the market year on year. Now, the difficulty system administrators have is moving all their user data from one file system to another and keeping all the existing soft links, hard links, all the attributes, permissions, and also being able, hand on heart, look their users in the eyes and go, we've migrated all your data, we promise. Now, Myriad contains the toolings to allow a system administrator to do that. Above and beyond sort of doing your traditional rsyncs, which on multi-petabyte file systems become incredibly difficult to guarantee that everything has been captured. And there's also some native tools that you could be using as well. Spectrum Scale provides their native ILM policies and their AFM policies, but again, they're not designed for migration, so they don't give that level of assurance on your migration. Now, this is where Atempo Myriad really does take the baton, because not only will it migrate your data from one file system to another, but it will actually scale with your environment. If you only have one system you can dedicate for your migration, that's absolutely perfectly fine. You can migrate through one single data mover. But the product allows you to scale to multiple data movers and to essentially farm out migration jobs from a central control panel. And from experience, you know, moving this data from one system to another is very bandwidth efficient. We have examples personally at OCF that see that it can almost saturate the connections that you've got from one side of the network to the other side of the network. Now, above and beyond the capacity of moving the data across, the tooling that Myriad provides are things like file by file checksumming. You are checking the checksums on the source target, and when it actually gets to its final destination, the final file system, it's able to compare these checksums to make sure the data you have migrated is the original data. At the end of your migration jobs, you're also able to produce a report and provide your users with these reporting as well. This allows you to hand on heart look your users in the eye and say, I've captured all your data. Your data is safe with us and with Atempo.